And so the department, because we don't have that local support, that local law enforcement support, we are having to go out and proactively arrest individuals. And we need to do that because we need to hold them accountable.
Acting Department of Homeland Security Secretary Chad Wolf, who continues attempting to make justifications in regard to the federal agents that have been sent to Portland. And now we're learning that unfortunately, this type of illegal detainment of nonviolent protesters is likely to spread throughout the country, not just Portland, Oregon. In fact, Trump made some mention of that today. But what Chad Wolf said there is important because he made it abundantly clear that the Department of Homeland Security acknowledges that they have been arresting people, without them even doing anything, right? Arresting people on the suspicion that they might do something. They're being proactive by arresting protesters in these cities, in Portland and in more cities to come. And I think that's important to keep in mind because it just really does highlight, John, how unconstitutional this behavior is. I mean, they claim that, we're battling chaos and violent crime and we're trying to protect federal property. I mean, all the excuses that they tried to come up with in the beginning. And now Chad Wolf is being pretty clear in saying, no, we're just trying to be proactive. And proactive indicates that you do something because you expect the individual to commit some crime or some action, and you're acting before they can commit that action. That's not how our justice system is supposed to work. And a lot of these people have been detained without being charged and with absolutely no indication of probable cause.
Yeah, and look, unfortunately for the Chads, we have video. We have video of what's going on in the protests. We can see people just standing apart from anything, being carted away, being beaten with batons. And we also have the video of him. And I've seen enough video of him now to be extremely concerned when we have this debate about whether this is a genuine overreaction and hard tilt towards fascism in the streets of America, or is it all of that, but for campaign purposes. The thing is, Chad Wolf has given me no reason to believe that he wouldn't be willing to go down either of those avenues for Donald Trump. If it's genuine, he'll do it. He doesn't care. He has no concern for the well-being of the American people. But if it's just a ploy for the campaign, he has been in lockstep with Trump narratively on this issue. There have been people from DHS who've been doing interviews. I think BuzzFeed, I believe it was BuzzFeed, had an interview with like 17 high up DHS employees who were saying, they're extremely worried about the long-term damage this is gonna do to the DHS's like public perception and all of that. He doesn't appear to hold any of that because again, it's like the government and military equivalent of Wall Street speculation. I'm gonna make the money I want and then I'm gonna be gone. I don't care if the entire thing crumbles behind me. And so, yeah, the damage
including our democracy.
Exactly. Exactly.
Including our constitutional rights. I mean, it's just amazing to me that people on the right wing who have manufactured entire careers off of pretending as though they're victims whose freedom of speech was violated by lefties. Like they love this. They love this. This is an actual crackdown on people's freedom of speech. And people are being terrorized, intimidated, detained with no charges, no probable cause. And the right wing is completely quiet about it or is defending it tooth and nail. And so we're gonna get to the DHS officials who spoke to BuzzFeed News off the record. But I do wanna also warn you guys about what is likely to come based on what Donald Trump shared during his coronavirus briefing today. Let's take a look.
For this reason today, I am announcing that the Department of Justice will immediately surge federal law enforcement to the city of Chicago. The FBI, ATF, DEA, US Marshal Service, and Homeland Security will together be sending hundreds of skilled law enforcement officers to Chicago to help drive down violent crime. Under Operation Legend, we will also soon send federal law enforcement to other cities that need help. Other cities need help. They need it badly. They should call. They should want it. They're too proud or they're too political to do that. One of them is Albuquerque, New Mexico, where last fall, 55-year-old Jackie Vigil was murdered as she was getting into her car to go to the gym. We're joined today by her husband, Sam, and her sons, Raul and Kevin, both New Mexico State police officers. Would you please stand? Thank you very much.
So for everyone who thought it wasn't such a big deal that immigration officials were terrorizing asylum seekers at our southern border, keep in mind that these are similar federal agents who are now going after protesters who again are practicing their constitutionally protected right to protest. Now, that includes, he mentioned some of those agencies in that video, but it includes Federal Protective Services, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, US Customs and Border Protection, and the US Marshal Service. So again, these are federal agents who are supposed to supposedly protect us and our national security, but in reality, they're treating American civilians as enemy combatants on American soil. And when it comes to the people who have been arrested, right? This argument that, these federal agents are necessary because they're focusing on these violent criminals who have done very, very bad things. Okay, well, let's talk about the few who have actually been charged and what those charges were, right? Mm-hmm. So 2 people were actually arrested during the protests over the weekend, and neither one of them was charged. Both were later released, okay? So detained with no probable cause, no charges. A review of federal court records for the month of July, the entire month of July, by ABC News shows 18 people have been federally charged for crimes related to demonstrations in Portland. Of those crimes, 13 were charged as misdemeanors. 5 of the cases involved the alleged use of laser pointers against federal agents or officers. Wow, danger. First of all, if the accusations of violence in any municipality, any city were true, right? And to be fair, Chicago does have a problem with violence. It is not the federal government's jurisdiction to come into any city and do this type of policing. That is not what they're trained for. That is not what they were hired for. And what we're seeing on the streets in Portland right now has only further escalated tensions and violence. And this is actually what Trump wants, honestly. He thinks this is a good look. He thinks that this makes him look like a tough guy. It goes along with the same thinking when he's escalating tensions with China. And it's really devastating because it's dismantling our constitutional rights. And you have the right wing totally supporting it.
Yeah, you do. You have Tom Cotton, on Sean Hannity yesterday saying that if they end up shooting and killing these protesters, it's on the protesters. So they support him. We get that. So you're saying he's doing this because he thinks it makes him look good. I mean, I would have the follow-up question: does it? I get that it's like totally out of the Republican playbook, ginning up fear and all of that, but now internal against various American cities. But after this year, I would have probably said it would probably work, that it would get people scared and the media would both sides it and make it seem as if Antifa's in all these cities and they're really scary and you should be worried about it. But I don't know, the way that he's handled the protests from the start doesn't seem to have helped him at all. Black Lives Matter is more popular than it was at the beginning. I think in no small part because Donald Trump, his response to it has been so uncaring, so cruel. The gassing of the people outside of the White House, the Bible, the photo op and all of that. None of that worked for him. Is bringing it to all of these different cities going to be better? Like in the months leading up to the election, let's say it does cause chaos. And there's indications that when they send in these people, the protests become stronger as a result. Doing that in all of these different cities, some of them in swing states, is that gonna make people more excited for more of Trump, for 4 more years of that he has brought chaos? And I think that it's too hard for the media to pretend that what the law enforcement is saying about the protesters is true. And we're seeing the video of them brutalizing people. It's undeniable. I think that this is sort of his last best chance, I guess. But the evidence so far from this year doesn't imply to me that it's gonna be successful. It is gonna be horrifying. It's gonna set a terrible precedent. People are gonna be horribly hurt. And if he does get into office with this, God only knows where it'll go from there. But I don't think that it's gonna help him politically.
Yeah, I mean, he's made a lot of poor decisions, especially this year. So he might think it'll work out for him. So far, it hasn't. And I think he's just trying to play to his base. This is red meat for his base. But it's really difficult to keep your base on your side when their family members are literally dying because of the terrible advice you've been giving Americans when it comes to masks, when it comes to hydroxychloroquine, when it comes to minimizing the severity of the pandemic. I mean, I think that people have been negatively impacted by this pandemic in some way or the other, either economically or because they lost a family member or a loved one or both. And so he's a failure because he's always talked his way out of things, but this is the type of situation where you really can't talk your way out of, taking responsibility for all of the death and destruction in this country. Real quick, since we promised, I do want to mention that BuzzFeed News did speak to 17 officials from the Department of Homeland Security who say that they're horrified at what's happening. They did speak, with anonymity because of obvious reasons. They don't want to lose their jobs. They don't want retaliation. But I mean, if you feel this terribly about what's happening, you got to fight. And 17 members of the Department of Homeland Security is no joke. And so coming out and revealing who you are and speaking out against this aggressively is important because this is beyond how the Department of Homeland Security looks. This is about protecting what little we have of our constitutional rights at this point under the Trump administration. So one DHS official said the following: despite working at DHS, I watch and learn about every day's new descent into lawlessness and authoritarianism, just like the rest of the world. Being a part of this corrupt regime, even as I play no role in the decision-making process, leaves me disgusted by my employer and saddened for my country. You should speak out, not with the protection of anonymity, but reveal who you are. Your colleagues should do the same because again, this goes beyond your profession, your job, your career. This is about doing the right thing and ensuring that we, try at least to move the country in the right direction. Read two more quotes real quick. This administration's utterly transparent fear-mongering of sending federal officers out against peaceful protesters in Portland and Chicago has no purpose other than to support Trump's re-election bid. It is blatantly unconstitutional and an embarrassment to the agency and the career civil servants who work here. And finally, BuzzFeed News shares one other DHS official's perspective on this. And he says, or she says, I did not sign up, nor was I trained to be a street cop. Civil societies have immigration laws that need to be enforced, but that does not mean we should be used as this delusional president's personal attack dog just because we happen to be available.
Yeah.
It's terrifying. I mean, and we need people to have courage and do the right thing here.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.